if I look at the community-based entrepreneurship, it's a distinct form. The definition of wealth is different. It's much more broader. It includes the cultural aspects. It includes the social aspects. It then also, of course, includes the economic aspect.
Every now and then, you come across someone whose career refuses to fit into a single box. Finance, boardrooms, leadership coaching, sustainability, indigenous entrepreneurship, and also academia. At first, those experiences seem completely unrelated. But when you look closer, they are all connected by one simple idea: helping people create meaningful change. That's exactly what we are exploring today. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of School to Startup brought to you by Tracxn, a private market intelligence platform that's been supporting the global ecosystem for over 12 years. Through our university partnerships, we work with institutions driving innovation and entrepreneurship, and this series highlights the academic leaders making that happen. I'm Harish, your host today. Joining us today is Dr. Grace Fan, Assistant Professor in Faculty of Management at the University of British Columbia, whose research brings together entrepreneurship, sustainability, business ethics, and community led innovation to address some of society's biggest challenges. Dr. Grace, it's a pleasure to have you with us today.
Thank you very much for your invitation.
Great. So I wanted to start somewhere unexpected. Okay. So if I had met Grace Fan 20 years ago, would I have ever met an investor or a professor?
20 years ago, that would be, I would be as an investor. In a sense, I worked in the investment side, looking at what companies to invest in, either as a listed company or as a new venture in the technology, media, and the telecom space. That was me at the time. Yeah.
Interesting. So, what motivated you to, come to academia?
I suppose I'm always curious. The way I always say, to be a good investor is to be very curious about the things that what motivates me is always looking at what the companies are doing, what the people inside these companies are doing. That's what really attracts me. So after a while, I was looking at to understand how the organization and the people in the organization works, and how the industry as a whole would behave. So that's what attracted me to being an academia. I'm a professed lifelong learner. I'm still learning.
Very interesting. So you have lived and worked across Asia, Europe, and North America. So how have those experiences shaped the way you think about entrepreneurship and leadership?
That's a great question. I'm ethnically Chinese, but I lived almost all my adult life outside of my home country. I lived in the United Kingdom for 20 years and Europe for 20 years. And then later on, I moved to Canada for work. So it gives me a different perspective on looking at things. And these are the experience, I call it the lived experience, are really important to look at things from an alternative lens. There are not just one way of looking at, but it also motivates me in terms of my research centers around historically marginalized and oppressed social groups and communities. Even in the space of the entrepreneurship, that's what I look at.
Understood. Um, so I've often heard entrepreneurs say they want to change the world, right? So from your research and experience, can business genuinely create meaningful social change, or does really change happen elsewhere?
Uh, that's a double-edged sword question, in the sense that if I look at the community-based entrepreneurship, for example, that's the one that my research is on. Specifically, I look at the indigenous community-based entrepreneurship. So when people say, including academia, say entrepreneurship, the common thing is wealth creation, and it's maximizing profit, right? But for indigenous community-based entrepreneurship, it's a distinct form. So the wealth creation, the definition of wealth is different. It's much more broader. It includes the cultural aspects. It includes the social aspects. It then also, of course, includes the economic aspect. So if we look at that, the cultural aspect is about cultural survival, is about identity, the community's identity. And for indigenous people, wherever they are, that is deeply connected. This is embedded in the land that they live. And the land itself includes water, it includes everything. And people, they are part of the land. So that's where the identity, the cultural identity, the cultural continuity comes from. Why they are part of the wealth creation, why they are part of the indigenous economies, sustainable economies, because the health of the land are intrinsically linked to the health of the community. So they are intertwined, they are not separable. And then it's talk about the social element. The social element is the social well-being of the community members. It's their health, it's their mental health. So that, of course, their community identity will feed into the health of the community. And then the economic element is also based on the land-based activities. For example, like fishing and hunting and having ceremonies on the land, or simply looking after the forestry and the water, etc. They not only beneficial to the community, to the health of the environment, they are also deriving economic benefits from that. It's also where their intergenerational knowledge are being practiced, being regenerated and passed on to future generation, not only just their community members, but all the community members who live on that land. That is always the case. So you can see these elements, the cultural elements, the social elements, they are integrated. So that's why in this community, the identity itself are distinct. They always talk about who we are in relation to and who we are in relation with. So there are people who would actually call the sustainable indigenous economy like a relational economy. So that they have all these benefits, they are connected. And why they are important, why I, research on the community-based entrepreneurship, because this is, in a broader sense, it's another alternative ways of organizing things to not only to preserve, to maintain the culture, but also to actually to change. Because nothing is, the academia, we tend to have a tendency to separate things, right? To do the deep analysis, to say one is maintain, one is to drive change. They are actually the same. In maintaining that, they are also driving the change. This is particularly important, the alternative way of organizing. We're all looking at how to develop a sustained economy without further depleting our home planet. So this is, I call it sustainable economy for the whole society.
Very interesting. Besides this community-based entrepreneurship, sustainability has become one of those words everyone uses, but everyone seems to define differently. So let me ask you, what does sustainability really mean?
You're absolutely right that different people have different definition of what sustainability is. I think I want to, in this one, I want to borrow the Taloquiet people. The Taloquiet First Nation are the indigenous people who live on Vancouver Island, British Columbia, Canada. They've used the word abundance. It's like the thriving of people, the home planet, the water, and everything else in it. That is important. We're talking about it comes from the worldview that we are our present generation, we are the borrowers of this land for future generations. We are the caretakers for the future generations. Now, the indigenous people has a 7-generation temporal perspective. So if any business, think about it, if you can take a 7-generation down the line view, when you design policies, when you develop, deploy practices around that, would look very different. You would ask different questions. For me, fundamentally, it's about not to ask the question of whether it pays to be green, whether it makes the business sense to be green. It is asking, how should we view the relationship between the environment and humans? The nature and human relationship, the relationship between people and the plants, the relationship between people and the land, the relationship between people, i.e. the beings who do not have a voice, like human beings. How do you actually view that relationship? So when you take this very long-term perspective, when you look at ask a different set of questions, then it is possible to drive the change that way.
Amazing. So, zooming back to universities and students, if you could teach every MBA student just one lesson from, indigenous leadership, what would it be?
That's a great question. Probably is to really, first of all, to understand the indigenous worldviews, how they come to view themselves or the people as part of the nature, as part of Mother Earth. Really to understand that, because without understanding, you can't, it's like the foundation. Once you have that understanding, then you have a different perspective on things. It's like, I call it for university students, it's the elevation of the mind. It's not, for me, the education is not just about the acquisition of knowledge. This is especially true in the age of OpenAI. But it's about elevation of the mind. Then the elevation of the mind comes from uh, understanding and maybe also appreciate another perspective, another way of organizing, which is different from the very dominant view of, let's say, the market logic has been dominant in all in all aspects of life, is to look at another aspect of the things. So for me, that's the foundational one. In fact, the elevation of the mind it comes from Confucius, the first ever educator in the world. Yeah, Confucius always said education is not just about acquisition of knowledge, it's about the elevation of the mind. They really guided me in my journey, uh, as a person. So this is what I would like the students to at least to understand and appreciate there is another perspective. So they become more reflective, reflect on things, and then hopefully they will change their own minds. That's probably, for me, that's the biggest reward as an educator.
Amazing. And also, you have openly shared your experience of, overcoming serious illness and your healing journey. Thank you very much for being, open to that, speaking about something so personal. But I wanted to understand, how has that experience changed the way you think about leadership, success, and life itself?
It is a deeply personal question. Um, I One of my very first class, always I do, is I ask the student to write down the top 3 values that they hold dear to them. And then we put them on the board. And then we collectively decide on the students as a class, what are the top ones. And my personal one, the top 3, prior to me getting very ill, they are authenticity, compassion, and family. I also share with the student, I said, after I viewed it as like I got another chance at life, I had a new one, which is gratitude. I'm grateful for the life that my parents gifted me, and I'm grateful I get a chance to still live. So I concentrate on the things which gives me joy and meaning, and the other things which in the longer term of things they are irrelevant. So I learned to let go, if there is a word for that. So to focus on the things which I call it the things which make me smile from the inside, like heal my souls. So that's why my research is on the historical marginalized and oppressed communities and social groups. So they are big societal challenges. And they give me meaning. They give me purpose in life. And so thank you this is very personal for me. Yeah.
Thank you very much for taking this question and sharing your insights as well on this. Uh, Coming back to the University of British Columbia has been leading when it comes to fostering entrepreneurship, innovation, and engaging students for their entrepreneurial journey. So I wanted to understand what exactly or what different that University of British Columbia is doing that most of the other universities are not?
Um, I would say UBC probably we do encourage entrepreneurial activities, and there is an special office set up to help the student to commercialize their innovative ideas. Um, there is also, we work locally with other, in Canada at least, in other agencies to help them to secure their funding, for example, or to provide other assistance. There is local incubators. We also work with that. And the of course, the entrepreneurial communities, which are doing that to encourage to encourage more of those activities.
Amazing. Amazing, Dr. Fan. Today's conversation reminded us that success isn't measured only by the companies we build, but by the impact we create and the people we empower along the way. Dr. Grace, thank you for joining us and sharing such thoughtful perspective and inspiring stories. It was an absolute pleasure having you with us today.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Great. And for all viewers, if you have enjoyed this episode, do like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more inspiring conversations with leaders shaping the future of entrepreneurship. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode.